and welcome to Pricing College with your hosts Joanna Wells
and Aidan Campbell. In today's episode, we want to cover what do you do when you're selling to somebody, a person, who just insists on getting a discount, who will not sign on the dotted line if they are not given a discount to list price.
Yeah, according to Cialdini in Psychology of Selling, he says that people feel, they feel better when they get some kind of compensation discount after a negotiation. So there's basically, rule of thumb, he's saying whenever anyone does a negotiation, price negotiation, in the back of their mind, what's going to make them feel better physiologically, emotionally, intellectually, is if the seller offers them a discount. It doesn't have to be a huge discount, but people want to feel that they've got something in this negotiation that they haven't been had in some way. So that's an important concept. Now, the question we want to pose is, should we factor that in to the price, and how can we do that?
I've in roles in the past, I've met people and it's just who they are. It's their self-identity. They are in the same way. There's people who self-identify as salespeopeople. There are people who self-identify as bargain hunters and negotiators, and they will haggle for anything. And if they'll go to a local market and they'll haggle over 1 cent or 2 cents, and it's almost the fun for them is in the haggling. And to be honest, at Pricing College, we're also of the view that you should try not to give discounts. You shouldn't discount on list price, because really what you're doing is destroying your margin. But there has to be a time when you recognize certain people will not buy from you if you cannot if they won't get that discount. And I suppose in this context, really what you want to do is segment the market. Don't give that discount to everybody. Really, make a decision if you're willing to offer a slight discount or whatever discount is required. And I'd also say in this context, a small discount can often be as good as a big discount to people. It's just the fact that they get a discount at all is all that matters, because often what they're seeking is not the monetary value, but just the psychological win. They can put that flag up and say they achieved victory in this negotiation. So how do you set about segmenting that customer from the 99% of other people who don't? And how do you work out how much discount to give?
Because often, prices are optimizing the price and looking at segmentation, willingness to pay. But often, the discount mechanisms and bands are a little bit like an afterthought, almost based on, just literally volume and quantity. It's not based on actually that, emotional response people have to price negotiation and that real need for some kind of compensation and discount. Like they're driven to do it. There's like a psychological or biological dopamine hit when they get that discount. And as Aidan says, it doesn't have to be big. So from a pricing perspective, we spend a lot of time at looking at that price point, but not factoring in that need for a discount, and often just putting sort of very crude 3-level discounts, often starting from that 10%, and then quite harsh restrictions thereafter. And often what we find even is that salespeople on the ground who're selling to customers know that people ask for discounts quite a lot. And maybe they don't know why, that people just psychologically really want that discount, but they know that they do it on a behavioral level. So they instantly, rather than just give 5% off, they go to the max and they give that 10% off. That's not a good practice. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that there has to be a greater awareness on need for discount from the consumer and customer perspective, because it happens in B2B as well. People just need that discount. And also what we're going to do as pricers about it, and the guidance and the flaws and the fences around those discounts. So sales know what they're going to do in response.
And I think this is one of the big issues or cruxes or problems between pricing departments and sales departments. Sales departments are having that conversation. They're speaking to the purchaser, the customer, who it could be an individual, it could be a company, it could be a procurement person. And oftentimes pricing is sitting behind a desk or in head office or somewhere else. And so there's that view that maybe pricing doesn't get that there's a human interaction. There could be a personal relationship over years between the seller and the buyer, the salesperson. There could be a long-term account management aspect. And if you're a B2B salesperson or any salesperson and you're driving out to their location, if this person's a haggler, they're going to want to haggle today. And I would let's be simple about it. If you're selling a car, and the person you're going to sell it to is they want to haggle. If you want to sell that car for $1,000, maybe it's not silly to quote an initial price above $1,000 to give you that wiggle room, that haggle room, we'll call it, to give the person the price that they are willing to pay, and also the little victory that they want.
Yeah, I think it's important to factor all of this in the price waterfall. You don't really see it. It's just like as a discount, but there's no explanation of it. It's just or promotional discounts, whatever. But that extra insight into that price waterfall will really help, because ultimately, if you don't acknowledge that the fact that people want a discount, it's going to come out of your margin anyway, the pocket price. So I think it's important one to factor in. Look, textbook wise, I can hear prices saying, never give discounts. If you're going to reduce the price, let's look at negotiating the value, trading value price, and all of that stuff. For sure, that's textbook. You shouldn't necessarily resort to, giving a discount. But have we really addressed the real problem here? Or the issue here, that people like discounts? Why wouldn't we want to please our customers by providing some kind of discount? And if we had more control of our discounts based on more research into how people respond to them and why they require them, then I think we can optimize our discounts and drive more revenue as well.
Here at Pricing College in Taylor Wells, we always talk about, it's not just the product, it's the periphery, it's the other stuff that goes with it, it's the customer service, it's the experience, it's the shop, it's the after sales care. To some extent, the actual selling process is one of those things too. It's if you're on friendly terms with a salesperson, that could be of value to it as well. If you know a person over years, and that could be an experience. A lot of people like going to traditional markets, and they like going for the buzz, for the colors, for the experience, the haggle. That aspect is very different to the modern sanitized supermarket experience. So people put value on different things. What you really want to be doing is understanding why, segmenting your market so that you're only giving discounts to people where it's absolutely necessary, and understanding how much of a discount is being given. Maybe have some guidance. Trust your sales team a bit with proper, don't dictate to them what to do, but have that guidance that they know there's a little bit of wiggle room if required, when required, but only in those instances. And I think otherwise, as long as the discount is not huge and if it gets you across the line, ask yourself the question, are you happy to get that sale in at that slightly lower price? And if you are, then there's no negatives from it really. The other thing is, applies in any aspect of life. If you are actually saying no to people, saying no, it's a very final, it's a very monumental final no. There's no room for negotiation, no wiggle room, and if you do that, it'll quite often get people's backs up. It could ruin a relationship slightly, and you might, from trying to argue and maintain that 1% of margin, you could end up getting no sale at all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think you've capped it off well. I think saying no is very final. People will remember that. They'll remember the no, and they won't remember all the service that you provided before at the reasonable prices, and possibly all the discounts you offered in the past. They'll just remember the last thing. That's the way human minds work. They remember the beginning and the end, not so much the journey. So yeah, just bear in mind, the realities of, how people like to buy. It's not always as sanitized as we like to think. Logic, applying a lot of logic to pricing is critical, but we've got to address how people actually respond to price, and that's always often, not always, irrational. People do buy emotionally as well as cognitively, and both can be easily distorted. But having that more discipline around discounts and more flexibility around your pricing structure. If you know your ranges, you know your price bands, you can do more with your discounting, more creative discounting, without necessarily giving all your offer away for free. So it's actually a win-win for everyone.
It is, and in many people really always talk about, companies and people talk about the personalized service. That we know our customer. If you know them, show them that you know it, and put it into play. And at the end of the day, it's an asset to you. This should not be a downside for you or a negative. This should be an asset. If you have customers who you know well, who you really understand, you're much more likely to sell to them on the ongoing basis. The lifetime value of that customer is likely to be much higher, and you might even enjoy your job a bit more. So, yeah, it's let machines do what machines do well, let people do what people do well, and empower your sales staff with good guidance, good structures, so that they know they're doing the right thing and they know where they can go and what they can do.
Yeah, well, that's all from me. Thanks for listening.
Have a great day. Bye.